The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on April 15th, 2025.
It's time now for Business Matters, brought to you by the Maui Chamber of Commerce. And now here's the host of the show, Pam Toompop. Good morning, Pam.
Hey, good morning, Gary. How are you this morning?
Doing very good. It's getting to be, you can feel it's getting to be summertime. It's kind of warm today.
It's looking bright and sunny up here in Pukalani. I'm loving it.
Yeah. And at least I can see the mountain this week. Last week it was kind of foggy.
Oh, I know. Aren't you grateful for those winds?
Yes.
Blow that bug away. Yeah. Well, how's your health with the bug?
Sometimes it affects me, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. It's kind of the same for me, too.
Right. You know, it sucks getting old, you know?
Yeah. That's right. Hey, every year, yeah. Every year. Well, thank you so much for all you do for producing the show. We truly appreciate you and your tremendous effort.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, this morning, we're happy to have all of you who are listening in this morning. It is a great morning today. We are going to catch up with Representative Tyson Miyake and talk to him about some of the important legislative work that he's been involved in. And we're going to meet with Max Tsai of Kokua and talk about how they help Hawai'i businesses improve their customer service. But first, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Representative Tyson Miyake. We were happy when he ran for office as a representative for the state of Hawaii. He represents District 10 that encompasses Wailuku, Waikapu, and the surrounding communities. Representative Miyake has previously served as Chief of Staff and Deputy Managing Director under former Maui Mayor Mike Victorino, which I'm sure all remember. He is an alumnus of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management and Business Law. Beyond his official duties, Representative Miyake is actively involved in community service, contributing to organizations such as the American Cancer Society, American Cancer Society Hawaii Pacific, and mentoring students at Maui High School's Academy of Hospitality and Tourism. Currently, he serves on the Housing, Judiciary, and Hawaiian Affairs and Transportation committees. So he is focusing on critical issues like affordable housing, infrastructure development, and so much more. Good morning, Tyson. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Pam. Great. Thank you for having me on this morning.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so excited to have you on. We keep connecting here and there. It was great seeing you at the legislature on Manufacturing Day as well.
Yes, always great to see you and Amber. And thank you always for participating at the Capitol with legislation on top of Manufacturing Day and all the other events we have at the Capitol.
Well, it's always our great pleasure, and it was great to see everybody and share some of our locally made products with our legislators. But we had a great response, and everybody loved all the treats we gave out.
Yes, always great.
So we were just talking, folks. Tyson and I were talking just before the show started. This has been a really busy legislative session. Maybe, Tyson, if you could just share that number for a minute, because we were tracking about 1,500 bills, which is a very high level for us this year. Can you tell everybody about how many bills were submitted?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the House's end, the House Chamber introduced 1,503 bills this session, and the Senate, they introduced about 1,600 bills, so a little over 3,000 bills this session.
Yeah, that is tremendous. I had no idea that, and that certainly explains why we were tracking as much as we were this year. But I had no idea of the total bill count, so that's amazing. Let's kind of get right into it because there's so many bills that we can discuss this morning, and there are three in particular that I was wanting to talk to you about. because they deal with housing. There is Bill HB 732 that addresses SMA permits, SB 66 to fast-track permits by state agencies, and SB 38 that addresses the extent to which county councils can impose conditions on housing projects. Can you walk us through these three bills, and let's discuss each one and what they're about and how they will impact housing on Maui?
Great, yes. So for SB 66, you said is one of them?
Yes.
Okay, SB 66, this bill, it currently aims to streamline housing development by requiring permitting agencies to act and complete applications within 60 days for single-family and multifamily housing projects. If the receiving agency or permitting agency fails to issue the permit within 60 days, then it has to be a complete application, first of all, because sometimes the delays is on the applicant and or maybe a consultant or whatnot. But however, if the completed applicant has not been, it's past the 60-day, then the permit will automatically be approved. So the goal with this bill is to eliminate unnecessary delays and to help our local families get their homes built faster. The bill does currently have a sunset date of June 2030 that will allow the legislature to assess the policy's impact and effectiveness. But, as you know, delays cost money. It's already expensive to build a home in Hawaii. So hopefully we can eliminate unnecessary delays and keep our local people into the homes of their dreams.
Absolutely. That is so important. And again, yes, the delays continue to cost money, and then of course with costs continuing to rise, it just has such a tremendous multiplier effect. So we were really pleased to be supporting this bill. Let's talk a little bit also about HB 732 on the SMA permit.
Yeah, so this year the legislature and the House decided to draft HB 732 because this bill raises the threshold for what qualifies as a special management area minor permit from the value of $500,000 to $750,000, which will allow more small-scale projects to proceed with a simplified review process. And this is based off of just the increase of the Consumer Price Index from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, to adjust for inflation. So these projects that are under the value of $750,000 do not have substantial adverse environmental or any ecological effects will qualify for this SMA minor permit process. Great.
Yeah, that again is going to help so many move forward without having those SMA permits. An SMA minor is very different from a regular SMA, and the regular SMA is a long process and very costly process.
Right.
So this helps allow many more to get in. I really appreciate that. We, of course, supported that bill as well.
Yes, thank you for your support of that.
And then one that I enjoyed seeing this year too, given some of our past challenges that we've had, which was Senate Bill 38. Many times over the 19 years I've worked for the Chamber, we've seen developments that are in the final hours of approval. And I'm going to say this was, over a decade ago. But a decade ago, there were projects that were going to propose a lot of housing. And in the final hour of getting those developments through the permitting process and through the county council process, additional conditions were heaped on that made those projects no longer pencil out. And still today, people will say, well, so-and-so promised us this housing, but they forget to look at the conditions that were imposed and why the housing was never built, because the projects often didn't move forward. So I thought SB 38 was a really interesting bill. Can you share a little bit about that bill and how that will impact?
Yes. So as you folks know, Hawaii faces a severe shortage of workforce housing. And currently projects go through 2 layers of discretionary review. First by the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation, also known as HHFDC, and then again at the county council level. So what SB 38 is aimed to do is to clarify that when while the county council still retains the authority to change project design based on community concerns, and the county councils can also reject the project entirely. But this bill, the county council cannot impose new conditions that would increase costs. So they cannot reduce fee waivers, or the county council wouldn't be able to require like deeper affordability levels beyond what HHFDC had already approved. So it's not trying to strap the hands of the county council. It's just, the goal is just to reduce duplicative regulatory hurdles and help expedite the much needed workforce housing across the state. So, it is 2 layers of discretionary review again. So it is, it's just going to impose conditions where the county council cannot add new conditions to increase the cost of housing.
Yeah, and HHFDC does also, for those who might not be familiar with that, they have a very thorough review and vetting process as well.
Correct, and they have a board as well, right? So, yeah,
that's a good important point too. Is they have a board to review that. So yeah, again, that was another one that those were all bills that we were supporting. Let's talk about some interesting things, because I thought this bill was a really interesting bill. Senate Bill 106 pertaining to freedom to jaywalk. Tyson, I know that you've been ringing in on this. Tell us about how this came about and about your public safety concerns.
So SB 106 is, you're right, the freedom to walk or the freedom to jaywalk. Here, for the city and county of Honolulu, they had a very high number. Per capita, Hawaii was higher than Washington State and New York on citations for jaywalkers, primarily around like the downtown area from Waikiki. But however, we are all representatives of our district. So I represent, I'm one of 6 House members that represent Maui County. I represent Wailuku, Waikapu, right? So I opposed SB 106. I opposed this measure out of respect for the concerns raised primarily by the Maui Police Department. And Maui Police Department had issued 0 citations, jaywalking citations. And the reason why I opposed it is it would require drivers to yield to pedestrians once they are clearly in the roadway, not in a crosswalk, just in a roadway. I want to say the bill said at least within 200 feet of a crosswalk. The concerns that MPD had, it was valid concerns about we would create a lot of confusion for drivers and pedestrians in just the everyday traffic environment. So if you're driving on Market Street in Wailuku, the crosswalk is away from you. With this bill, it would allow a jaywalker to just, as long as it's safe to the jaywalker, they could cross at any time. So now I feel you would have to retrain drivers to be more defensive than they already are and watch out for any crossers that would allow them to, with this bill, allow them to cross without getting a citation. So, I believe like we just have to promote pedestrian safety and coordinate and work with our law enforcement and communities just to ensure effectiveness for these type of measures, right?
Well, I agree, and it actually happened to me one night, but we were able to stop in time. But not several months back, somebody else died in a car accident because they were walking in the middle of the road at night, and that happened to my family when we were driving home after a event at the Maui Arts and Cultural Centers right by Long. Somebody literally was 2 lanes in, walking straight towards our car, but we were able to stop in time. So there's a lot of things that are going on. So it's a complicated measure that most of us didn't think about. That was not one on our 1,500 list. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean there was a bunch of bills, yes, but this was one of them. It was just like it was mainly geared around city and county of Oahu. Some of my colleagues on Kauai were in support, and the Big Island, Maui was kind of. Where, like, I understand, but we just, and after reading the police department's testimony, I agree that it's just going to be an increased confusion and then retraining of drivers and, just based on pedestrians' intent to cross, etc. So many uncertainties.
Yeah, that's a very interesting bill, but what I really appreciate was the degree to which that you looked into it, that you recognized that Maui wasn't at that same level, right? That it was very different, and so where does this bill stand today?
I believe it is going to conference. It's one of the conference bills.
Okay. So because we've got several bills. The bills we've been discussing so far are going to conference committee. It appears as long as we've got conferees named, then it's going to conference committee. So we're at that time where conferees are named. The House has already named theirs, and more will be named shortly if they haven't been named yesterday afternoon. So
so if you check the capitol.hawaii.gov website, I know the House had released conferees yesterday afternoon.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so it's moving fast, and on these bills, the conference committee is the final say. But you can't testify in conference committee, but you can reach out to your legislators on these bills. So that's really important.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now another bill that I saw in the news, which I found very interesting, and you've been ringing in on this, is HB House Bill 534 on the ahi labeling bill, which is, ahi is such a huge part of our diet in this state. Tell us a little bit about the work and how important it is to protect consumers and how you rang in on this bill.
Yeah, so after meeting with the Longline Shore fishermen, this bill was drafted to promote transparency in our seafood market. Seafood is very big here in Hawaii, especially ahi. So it's just going to require retail establishment to label the country of origin where the ahi was landed. There's some countries that local people know where, based on the color and whatnot, right, texture of ahi. Well, some countries, they inject it with gas, carbon monoxide. It was previously frozen, thawed out, treated with carbon monoxide to preserve the color, and sold as freshly made, locally caught ahi. So, it misleads the market. It is maybe cheaper, much cheaper, but it's labeled the same as freshly caught. So this bill just ensures the truth in labeling for ahi.
I think that's really important. And that wasn't one that was on our list, but again, it was something that we saw in the news and watched and thought, well, that a lot of people don't understand. And, I would say I wish I was that akamai in my household to really know if I saw it, but I think I probably could be fooled on that. So I think that's a great bill. And, of course, it protects our fishermen who are really doing truly locally caught.
Right. And so this will just give consumers the ability to choose local and support Hawaii's economy just with the simple country of origin label of the poke or sashimi, ahi sashimi that they made where the ahi was landed. Yeah.
And we always want to support buy local first, right?
Right.
This is great, so that we avoid that confusion. Love that. So, I know that there are some problems that you're trying to resolve with Senate Bill 1522. That is the Vehicle Title Transfer Bill. Talk to us a little bit about that and why that bill is really important.
So this bill will establish clearer procedures and penalties for, to protect sellers during the title transfers. So right now, there was during my time at the county, there was a lot of abandoned vehicles just left on the side of the road. But it wasn't, the buyer did not complete the transfer agreement or the title transfer, do their due diligence. So when these vehicles were picked up, many were still owned technically by the seller. So now this SB 1522 will add new penalties for buyers who don't turn in during that transfer process, but it also protects the seller from being, not being once he signs off, then, the seller's proof of transfer will serve as a defense in any civil case involving the vehicle post transfer. So it's just to protect the sellers in this part.
Right, because if their car, if it was considered their car and it was found on the side of the road, right, they could be liable for fines and fees to deal with the abandoned vehicle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the seller won't be, with this bill, if it goes through, the seller will not be held responsible for abandoned vehicles after the proper transfer steps were completed.
Yeah. And I think that's, again, another really good bill. It's one of those things that it's not something that most of us think about every day, but it's something that happens to people every day. And, unfortunately, it's a big thing in Hawaii, so that's very interesting. Because, in the past, there's been two sides, right? The seller completes their form, and you would think that should be enough. So it sounds like this will make that enough, as long as they register their form. If the other party doesn't, then it's on them. Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about the state historic sites. And there is a bill to help preserve our state historic sites through House Bill HB 830. Can you tell us a little bit about this bill and what this bill is aimed to do?
Yeah, so House Bill 830 is actually my number one priority bill that I introduced this session. After hearing from my constituents, this bill with the delays in SHPD. So SHPD is the State Historic Preservation Division under DLNR. And this bill will allow SHPD to hire a qualified third-party consultant to help expedite reviews. Currently, SHPD has a review period of 60 days, but the division faces 6 months to a year backlog in review, causing major delays in housing and infrastructure projects. And like I mentioned earlier, I had 4 constituents One waited 4 years on a SHPD review process just for a single-family home. One waited 3 years, and the other a little over 2 years. Based on UHERO's report, it's an extra, that regulatory delays and costs can increase a housing project up to $400,000 per unit. So,
right.
It's urgent, the need to get these approvals done. I understand there's a growing backlog due to staffing shortages and an overwhelming volume of submittals. So I'm just trying to help SHPD to allow them to use a qualified third-party consultant to review, the projects that need historical preservation division. So I also worked with the union. I'm not trying to take away public sector jobs, but I also want to make sure our local families can stay, build the homes of their dreams and stay and live in our community.
Absolutely. And, I know we've done 2 housing forums, one in 2017, one in 2019, with Mayor Victorino before COVID. And again, SHPD was coming up long before those forums, but certainly came up in both of those forums as being delayed. And one of the key areas that holds back things from moving forward quickly. As you point out, you had 4 constituents, and they were from over 2 years to 4 years when they've got 60 days to do the review. So tell us a little bit about this bill. Where are we at now? To me, this seems like a no-brainer bill. We did ring in support of this bill. Tell us about, where we're at now and what are some of the concerns with this bill, if any, as we move to conference committee.
Yes, so it is moving to conference committee. I am meeting, with our Senate counterparts. I want to emphasize that this bill does not eliminate preservation requirements.
Right.
It just simply allows SHPD to enter into a contract, which SHPD will create the contract, right, to make strict qualifications, of course, following state ethics rules, so for transparency and integrity, but it will just help them expedite the review process so our local families can not have an increase in the housing cost just purely because of delays. But so with that said, we are, the challenge was just like who, if SHPD enters into this consultant, can they vet it? Yes, SHPD is the only one to vet it. So they have rules. They will have to establish their house rules. SHPD will have to establish their house rules. And so she's also asking for some cost in case if they have to front the contract cost. But I will preface that the cost will be associated to the builder as well. So it will just be passed down to the builder. But hopefully this can help accelerate their approvals for projects here in Hawaii.
Well, and to that point, and I know that you will understand this, and right, I mean, I heard somebody talk about it and say, and we've had this with county permitting processes in the past too, right, and the delays there. So I've heard some people say, well, now the cost for review gets borne if they go to a third-party consultant. That gets now borne on the project for work that normally is done by the state. But what I frequently hear, right, is time is money. So if the state's not getting to it, the cost to pay for a third-party consultant to get it moving forward quicker is far less than the cost, and we've already talked about what happens to to 400,000 or more if things keep getting delayed, right? We're increasing the cost. for local families to get into that house because those costs have to be passed on. So, I feel like this is a big win if we can really expedite it to that point. And we also continue to hear about worker shortages within government. And
right.
so, it's adding to further delays. So if we've got worker shortages on top of, even, when we're looking at a tremendous backlog already, we can't stop housing. The crisis is escalating. So this was an important bill that, we were supporting this as well because we've got to get housing out, and especially in Maui County where our crisis is exacerbated by, the loss of homes with the wildfires.
Absolutely. So, I feel that this bill is a balanced solution to protect Hawaii's culture and historic preservation resources, but also addressing our most urgent need, right, for development of housing projects. And, I know the out-migration for our local residents have declined, but, we still want to prevent that from continuing. So we need our local families in the homes of their dreams, that if they want to build a single family home or a cottage or any housing project, we shouldn't delay them because delays cost money. And again, based on the UHERO report, any increase in delay will increase a housing price up to $300,000 to $400,000 per unit, based off of UHERO again.
Yeah. And again, I'm glad that you emphasized that, and I want to reemphasize that as well. This is not about not protecting our historic sites. This is really about streamlining a permitting process that is far out, right? And we look at this on many levels, right? How can we streamline government processes, not to circumvent what they're meant to protect? It's about protecting those critical things, but getting the reviews done faster.
Right. And within their period, right? Their review period is 60 days. So, they're delayed now, and hopefully this will help get them caught up. But that's where one of the biggest bottlenecks is with housing, is this review delay. So hopefully this will help, get them caught up. And then, who knows, and Shifty will not need a third-party consultant. They could just do it on their own once they get caught up. But it is not fair to our local families that they have to incur this additional cost just based on delays of, governmental review times. So that's why it means a lot to me.
It means a lot to me. And again, two conferences, a long time ago, right? 2017 and 2019, these big issues were brought up, and they're still the same. And again, while we're talking about this from a Maui perspective, we do have a housing crisis across our state, and of course, this is a state bill, and Shifty is a state, is under the state purview. So this is our local families, but it's also local families across the state that we're trying to help with this type of measure.
Absolutely. It's Shifty delays is a statewide issue.
Yeah, and I think that this is, again, I'm sure other housing forums have brought it up as well, across the state, and as something to address. And there was a reason I don't remember when they added the 60 days, but there was a reason for 60 days, which was to expedite these approvals and have a known period that those building housing could count on. And we're just so far beyond that right now. So that's really an important bill. So again, this one's going to conference committee.
Yes. And this one I'm very proud of because I've been working with all the stakeholders, including the administrator. She's on board with this. She actually is helping me craft the language for this bill, but also the stakeholders, to help craft it. Like I said, the union, HGEA, just to make sure everyone understands like what the intent of the bill is and will do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it in conference. Yes.
Do you know who are the House conferees? I'm sure you're going to be on there.
Yes, I believe it's Chair Evelyn and myself. I'm not sure who else is on this one, who will be on this one. Yeah. Okay.
So we will be looking that up, and for the bills that we talked about today, as well as the Chamber's got, well, we had a list of 68 bills that had the potential to go to conference committee, but we're paring it down to a top about 20 list of bills that we want to share. But we will be posting it on the Chamber's website to name the conferees, so people can understand who they can ring in with, and we'll be providing the list, at the legislative site online that you can go to and get everybody's contact information and start reaching out on bills that are important to you, that you want to make sure pass, because there's a lot of things at this time. This is the 11th hour, and again, this is the time for testimony has passed now, but you can reach out to those conferees and share your voice and let them know, if you have concerns or your strong support, or but you have a time to talk to them about how you feel about these bills and things you want them to know, and giving the stories helps them with the impact. It makes a tremendous difference when they understand how these things are impacting you. And some of the amazing stories that we hear every day at the Chamber, in and out, is just the hardship of delays and what a price for housing looks like. It was discussed before it was being built, and now, as they're in the process of trying to get the final approvals and move forward with the construction, we're just seeing costs escalate exponentially. And now with tariffs and trade issues and limited resources, as we've seen disasters all across the nation, right, and needs for building supplies, things are just going up. So we need fixes like this in place, and urge everybody to ring in and share your thoughts.
Yes.
Tyson, you've been doing such an amazing job. We are so proud of the work that you're doing. Really, really proud of this bill. It is an important measure, and I know when you tackle something like this, as you point out, it's a big deal because you're meeting with all the constituents. You're trying to show people a new way. I'm thrilled that the chair, Shifty Chair, is on board. That is phenomenal. And so
yes.
I'm just thrilled that you've garnered that leadership. We hope to see this move forward, and we'll encourage people and let people know, about the conferees and how they can ring in on these and the other bills.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Pam. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, my phone number is 808-586-9444. And my email is repmiyake@capitol, CAPITOL@.hawaii.gov.
Awesome. You've always been very accessible, and we so appreciate that, Tyson. Thank you so much. Thanks for all you do. And we've got our fingers crossed. We'll be reaching out to people in this final hour. But thank you for a great legislative session.
I appreciate all you do for our businesses and community, Pam. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
It's our great pleasure. It's always great to talk to you. Thank you, Tyson.
Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha. Oh, it's always wonderful to have Tyson on, and here we are. But we're going to have him on more as we move forward into the next legislative session. But I want to let everybody know also that even after the session ends, there's a lot of work to be done. Right? These are times where bills that maybe you wanted to see that didn't pass. It's still time in between session to connect with our lawmakers and talk to them about where we're at and what needs to happen. There was on the news today, we've got the highest taxes now in the nation. So our overall tax package for Hawaii residents is high. And so we need to start looking at some of these broader issues that are impacting our cost of living and the challenges we face here. As Gary reaches out to Max Tsai,
I got him on the line.
Oh, you got him. Well, welcome, Max. Let me give a quick introduction, and I'll welcome you back on.
Just to remind you, we're down to about 8 minutes left in the show.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Okay, so we're going to have Max Tsai, who's president and owner of TC Kokua LLC, a Maui-based customer support and call center firm established in 2001. Max's contributions to the business community have been recognized with several awards, including the 2009 U.S. Small Business Administration's Small Business Person of the Year for Maui County. TC Kokua has also been a finalist in the Maui County Mayor's Small Business of the Year Award. He served as chairman of the board for Maui United Way and participated in various nonprofit organizations. So good morning, Max. Welcome to Business Matters.
Good morning, Pam. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Tell us a little bit about TC Kokua and what you do.
Well, TC Kokua is the leading outsourced customer support center based right here on Maui, in Kihei, in fact. And we support pretty much all types of businesses throughout Hawaii and in the past, mainland as well.
That's fantastic. Now, give people a sense of what types of industries, you mentioned you serve a lot of different businesses, what types of industries are using your customer service?
Oh, that's a good question, Pam. Yeah, we started out mostly in the hospitality industry. Obviously, it's the biggest in Hawaii, here in Maui, of course, as well. And ever since COVID, which we took a beating as everything got shut down, as we all know aware, and we have, unfortunately, a double whammy with the Lahaina fire. So it's pretty devastating for all the businesses, a lot of businesses here on Maui, and we have to expand our horizons. And we service a lot of, even during COVID, a lot of the essential services, like we have doctors' offices, we have construction industry that have to remain open, and we're fortunate enough to be able to provide services for them. And we also did a lot of contracts with the government. Like, for example, we had a Department of Human Services years ago, and right now we actually provide call center services for the city and county of Honolulu.
Oh, fantastic.
Department of Customer Services. Yes, we have very fortunate got that contract. And so it's nice to be able to find or provide support for many businesses, even, on a state, county level, right here locally in Hawaii, on Maui, where people can actually reach local folks, and that's what really we're about, provide local service, local jobs, and it makes a huge difference, instead of having to look outside of Hawaii and the mainland or overseas, which, it's been a big deal nowadays anyway.
Well, and I know that your service, embodies that local spirit when you're providing customer service. So when you talk to those, like as you say, overseas call center services, right? They might use some of the Hawaiian words, and if they pronounce them correctly, that's a bonus. But often they don't. But when they're working with your staff and your people, they are getting that local sentiment. They're getting that local spirit. They know it's local because people know how to pronounce, the Hawaiian words correctly, and they just get that feel that it's local and by people who really care. And I think that's a great plus for your service that separates you in a huge way from mainland services and international call centers.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for exactly the point. Thank you for saying that, Pam. It's we're embodied the aloha spirit, and also there's something we call soft skills that you just can't teach anybody else that's not living in Hawaii. And that's something that's very, very important, and especially somebody want to call a Hawaii company, or they want to be able to to speak to somebody in Hawaii, not somebody elsewhere.
Right. No, that's very true. Absolutely. Tell us about how your service adds value to your clients' businesses.
I'm sorry? Say that again? You just woke up for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tell us about how your service adds value to your client's business.
Oh, absolutely. Very good question. Yeah, we pretty much target all sorts of businesses, as I mentioned. For smaller businesses or, like I mentioned, government contracts. For small businesses, which is, what the Chamber of Commerce is about, we help small business to handle the ups and downs, seasonal changes. And also what we really do is help them kind of focus on their core business without having to invest a lot of money, time, energy into setting up their own internal customer service department. So instead of having to hire their own staff, and then, obviously the costs ever since the double whammy we had, insurance, everything, taxes have gone up tremendously. So for business, even small business, it's challenging to navigate through all of that. And if they wanted to focus on their core business, whatever their core business is about, they need to be able to focus on it instead of having to worry about, okay, is my customer contacts are being addressed? Meaning, when we talk about call center, yes, we do mostly 80% calls, but a lot of our technology nowadays goes to, we do a full customer contact. So we do email, we do chat, we do text messaging, all sorts of contact platform to support our clients and end users. So this really helps them to really focus on core business, I mentioned, also save time and money, because what it comes down to is outsourcing, we can save our clients anywhere from 20 to upwards of 60, 70% as compared to doing it in-house.
Wow, that's tremendous. Max, I'm getting a little bit of a heads up from Gary. So tell everybody how they can reach you and learn more about your services so you can help them address the biggest challenges they're facing.
Yes, you can find us on the web, www.tckokua.com, tckokua.com. You can also give us a call at 808-270-8701.
Fantastic. Max, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I know our time got a little brief, but great to have you on the show and to share TC Kokua with our community. If you're not using TC Kokua and you need customer service help, reach out to them. Reach out to Max and his team. They're awesome. It's always a joy. We're thrilled to have all of you join us this Tuesday. Tune in again next Tuesday morning at 7:05 for Business Matters. We're always learning and sharing interesting information that helps us at a county and state level move positively forward. Blessings and best wishes for a beautiful Maui week. Ahui ho.